come up with a use.
If you don't mind, we are recording that, and you remind me, Michael, the Steve Jobs, and for us coming from a small country out of nowhere, it's always exciting to meet a person who spent some time working with Steve. So how it was to like talk to this guy, how it was to work with this guy, with Steve Jobs.
How did it what?
How it was to meet Steve Jobs, talk to him, to work with him.
And can I just, are you okay with us recording you? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as I don't end up on World Wrestling Federation or something, you know.
Okay.
He was a really smart guy. You're a really smart guy. He saw things that other people didn't see. You see things that other people didn't see. He could, I think the thing that was most distinctive about him when I worked with him was that he had what everybody called the reality distortion field. He would look you right in the eye and he would describe a reality that wasn't there, and you would see it, you know? And that was his power. He had that vision. I didn't work with him when he became a brilliant businessman. You know, I was an advisor to Next, and then I went to work for Apple in '89. And then, so I had to sever business ties, you know, like professional ties with him. So I'd see him in the neighborhood, but when he came back, he had that same visionary power with respect not to technology and user experience, but with respect to business opportunities and markets and industries. He transformed at least 3 industries that I know of with stuff that he didn't create. He just kind of made the things that made the pieces fit, you know. It was the guys from the New York Institute of Technology that Lucas hired that ended up doing DroidWorks and Pixar, right? Steve bought Pixar because he wanted RenderMan so that he could generate animation on the fly from a digital signal processor in the next box. And then at some point he woke up and he thought, fuck, I got this great animation company. I think I'll take over Disney and transform the animation industry, you know? So he did, right? You know, it was Lucas and the other guys that had the idea for Pixar. So, yeah. So I think what you want to do is you want to persistently sell your vision, whatever it is, and whether or not it has made enough sense to you to want to sell, or whether it makes enough sense to anybody, because it's the only way that you're going to figure out whether it's ever going to make sense and execute on it. And I think that's the thing, was that the guy just never fucking gave up. And he had this kind of ethic that he really liked things that were made right. You know, so all these horror stories about him tearing out all the tile in the original, the Pixar headquarters because it was the wrong colors, or tearing out the plumbing in the first Apple store because it was the wrong brand, you know. Those are all true as far as I know, you know. Because he wouldn't let people do sloppy shit. And I was teasing a friend of his, this guy Bill Atkinson, who made a thing called HyperCard. Did you ever hear that?
No.
Back in the 80s, it was a thing that helped sell Macs and all three. And he was part of the original Mac team, Bill Atkinson. He was the guy that did Quick Draw, you know, that put the shit up on the screen. And I was saying that, you know, Steve's ex-girlfriend who worked for me at Stanford didn't want us to let our programmers at Stanford go up to Next because Steve would look at something they'd been working on for 6 months and saying that's shit, which he would. You know? And she knew him well enough. And then Bill looked at me and said, yeah, you know, but what most people don't understand is when Steve looks at something you've been working on for 6 months and says that's shit, what he really means is I don't understand it. Explain it to me. And Bill got that, you know, and I don't think many people did. I don't think many people had the balls to push back, you know, when he would say something didn't work.
You told me that when he visited you once in your house, and you described that he got this kind of like aura to really explain the things which you start to believe the things which were not really real. So can you come back to this point?
Oh, well, you know, when Next started, they were up the road from Stanford, so I used to go up there a couple times a week. And Dan Lewin, who's now a corporate vice president at Microsoft, was his head of marketing. Steve, he was one of the people that Steve took away with him. And I had been up to Next that afternoon, and Dan had kind of walked me through where they were on the product plan. You know? And so I kind of knew what was working and what wasn't working, and whether it was going to happen when, you know. And that was because I was an advisor and you know, going to be their biggest customer at Stanford, right? Anyway, so I think it's important you're at an intersection of technology and culture, and I don't think there are many people that actually get it, you know. The most articulate...
Free.
Huh?
It's you, it's Wayne Grant, and there is a guy from Z-Space who gets, you know, what you're trying to do right now.
Well, you know, I have a feeling Noah Falstein's got an inkling. Beth and I went and saw a talk he gave about, this is a guy I knew him 20 years ago when I was at a video game company doing a storytelling CD-ROM for like little girls. And he had worked at LucasArts, you know, doing games like Indiana Jones, adventure games. Then he came to work for Digital Pictures, and he was, I don't remember what he was working on. But then Steven Spielberg and David Katzen and I can't remember who the G was, but they did DreamWorks, SKG, a new studio. This is about 20 years ago. And they wanted to do DreamWorks Interactive. Geffen, yeah. Yeah. So 3 really big guys in Hollywood, you know, they're gonna do the new studio, you know, the future. And they still do great, you know, they do great movies. But anyway, so he went down there to start their interactive studio. And then after that, for 16 years, he was an independent game producer. And he made all kinds of shit, you know. I mean, he designed things, independent game designer. And Google hired him about 3 years ago now because they woke up and they realized that the only reason people were buying Android devices was to play games on them in Asia. So they said, well, fuck, let's make more games, because then we'll sell more Android. So they hired this guy who'd been, you know, kind of a Ronin in the game industry. And he went down there and, you know, now he takes the bus down and all that stuff. And in fact, this morning I saw there was an article about Google Cardboard in classrooms. So I sent that to him and but
like the VR kind of thing?
Yeah, you know, so the kids are studying Shakespeare, so they put on the thing and they do a virtual reality tour of Verona. But it's just this little cardboard thing in their Android phone, you know. It's like, not the VR of 30 years ago where you're wearing the big thing. So, but Noah, Beth and I went to this talk Noah gave for game developers, and it was about VR and AR and how it's now the wave is about ready to catch. And he talked about it in a way that was, that I was sympathetic to, because I was there 30 years ago when Jared Lanier coined the term virtual reality, and he had his glove, you know. Jared's this guy, it's like a 300-pound Rasta albino, you know, who's brilliant. You know, he was 17 years old and his visual programming language is on the cover of Scientific America. But he's a very, very weird dude. But, you know, he was all about VR is coming, it's coming, it's coming, you know, and then all it ended up being was for designing cars and discovering oil, you know, and shit like that. So I think Noah's got a good inkling, because otherwise there's no reason for him to go out on a limb about that, because he doesn't have any investment in Google Cardboard or Google Glasses.
Yeah, so let me stop the camera.